Welcome back. Today we're going to be learning about isometric and oblique pictorials. Pictorial drawing is a 2D illustration of a 3D object. What this means is even though the picture that we make looks 3D, it's still really only two dimensions. It's got height and width. It doesn't really have any depth, even though it has the appearance of having depth. Um, there's three types of three-dimensionals, 3D drawings you can make. An isometric, which would be the most common one right down here. All right, this is an isometric. Then we have two types of oblique. And this is one that students get confused about all the time is think there's four because they consider cavalier and cabinet to be different, but they're really both oblique drawings. The only difference here is the depth that they appear to be. Cavalier sometimes is a misleading 3D because of the depth, and a lot of times cabinet is one we'll use more often, and we'll talk about these, but both of these are oblique drawings. One here on the farthest right is probably the hardest for students to learn how to do, and that's perspective. I know you guys are going to be at some point talking about that in your art classes, already have, but basically perspective is where all of these lines, and I didn't do a very good job, but you can see here all of these lines are starting to come back to a centralized location, right? And if I were to continue this, there's some point out there that all these lines would go to. Oblique pictorials. An oblique pictorial starts with a straight-on view of one of the object's faces, which is often the front face. This right here is looking at the object. Down here is the oblique drawing that they're making. Here's what I want you to know is an oblique drawing, the horizontal lines, you have lots of horizontal and vertical lines. When it comes to oblique. What you're going to notice then is if I go back and show the picture, oblique drawings we have horizontal and vertical lines. Notice with the isometric, you don't see any, you see some verticals, but mostly what you see here is this V, and that's what I tell students is an isometric has this big V right here pointing right at you. An oblique is basically going to have, is going to be flat. You're not going to have that big V pointing at you. Again, there's two types of oblique drawings. There's oblique cavalier and oblique cabinet. The difference between the two is the depth of the object that's being represented. These are both the same object being represented. The difference here is the depth. In the cavalier, if you can notice here, they've went back 2 blocks. So maybe you measured it to be 2 centimeters. So they went back 2 blocks to represent that 2 centimeters. Well, what that does is it gives it kind of a distorted look. This doesn't really look square. And with an oblique cabinet, if it's 2 centimeters of depth, they're only going to go back 1 block, and that gives it a much better appearance of being square. And that's the difference, is basically they go half the depth on oblique cabinets. And that's what we're showing you here. They both go full height, full width, full height, full width. If they go full depth here on this one, then it doesn't really appear to be a square. If you go half the depth, then it does appear to be a square. Again, on this, I want to point out, this might be 3 centimeters. This is 3 centimeters. But to make it look like a square, they're only going to go 1.5 this way, even though it really is 3 centimeters. It's a little bit of an illusion. Oblique pictorials. All right, to make an oblique, imagine a glass box that encloses the entire object. Sketch a rectangle to represent the overall height and width of the box, such as the height lines and the vertical lines. So, overall, they say that this right here is 2 boxes tall, 3 boxes high. What they're doing here then is they're saying 2 boxes here equals 1 box here. So this then, so we've got, if I were to draw this in, there's this view right here. Right, they're showing this front view. Right, there's the 3 boxes up and the 2 boxes across. Why don't you guys go ahead and pause it and take the time necessary to go ahead and get that drawing done. Alright, now to finish the box, again, this is 1 box deep, so what we would do then is I'm going to make, here there's Cavalier. Because it's 1 box, we would have to go, and theirs isn't really exact here with their Cavalier. We would go back 1, 2 boxes if we're going to make a Cavalier. So it should actually be there. And then over here we should probably finish this out all the way to 1 box. So their drawing is a little bit off, but hey, it's not so bad. So I'll give you guys a chance to get that caught up here. And the way that you know you're going at the right angle is you simply go from corner to corner whenever you're doing depth. Whenever you're doing depth, you should be following these boxes. You should be going through these points. And this sometimes is hard for the freshman puppy doggers because they've got to really focus to go through those lines. They kind of just want to go haphazardly. All right, and you need to make sure that you are not doing that, but indeed, trying to erase, it's not erasing, is you're starting and you're going through those corners. And that's really hard for freshman puppy doggers. Then, once you have your drawing in here, you can shade it in if you want, a little bit. And, you know, if you notice here, what's missing is our diagonals. So in the next step, I will go ahead and pause it if you need to. We'll wait a few seconds here, so you can get caught up with your drawing here. But the next step then is going to be to come through there and add your diagonals. All right. They've added a diagonal there on top. All right. Over here you'd add a diagonal there. They've got the drawing coming down. Where are the other diagonals? Well, we'd have to have one there. And again, I'm going from corner to corner. Oh, I did that one wrong. I need to head towards the 45 there. And then the other one that you're going to have to add here is this. I'll kind of halt there for a short bit for you. Notice that those are the lines that they're adding. Again, if you're behind, pause it, stop. You should be drawing this right now. Now, if you look at this here so far, it says use object lines to trace over the construction lines to delineate the edges of the object that occur on the visible surface of the box. So what that really means now is they've gone through here and they've used, you know, an object line, so we'll use black, but they're going to go through here and really darken in the object lines. And the reason we're doing this right now is so that you don't get confused what your object lines are. So over here, again, we had these light lines. I'm going to use gray for some light lines. We had these lines that were here. We had lines here. We had there. And we had there. And we had there. And basically what they're saying now to do is to come back and really darken these lines in, the object lines, the ones that we know that we want to keep, all right, the outer edge. Now we won't lose track of those. Helps if I turn it on for this. What they're doing here is they're telling us how far back to go. They're going from this back corner over to this diagonal line that we put in. It's kind of like a guideline. So I'm going to come over here, and you guys have this guideline. I just haven't gotten it. I don't have it in mind right now. I need to go corner to corner again here. There we go. And I'm going to go from this corner over till I intersect the diagonal, and then I'm going to go from where I intersected the diagonal up. Same thing over here. Go from here until I hit the diagonal, and then wherever I hit the diagonal, I'm going to go up. Now basically the next step is going to be to make those object lines. And that's what you end up with. Well, hey, that's how we make an oblique pictorial. We've made a cavalier and a cabinet the whole time, but basically what it does is it starts with making a box. One of the things I want to talk about, represent an object's true width and height, but the depth can be any size drawn at any angle. So here they're giving you examples of two other oblique drawings. Notice here's one, they've got it at this angle. Here's another one, they've got it at a different angle. But what they're really trying to point out here is we've got to have the true height and true width, but the depth can be in any size and drawn at any angle. Well, hey, I hope that helps you there with your obliques. I'll catch you on the flip side.